Welcome to the Podcast Lab, your go-to space for raw conversations, curious questions, and inspiring stories from around the world. Whether you're here to learn, laugh, or just listen in, this is where ideas take shape and voices come alive. Ready to dive into fresh perspectives and thought-provoking discussions? Let's get started. This is the Podcast Lab. Subscribe now and never miss an episode.
Hey everyone, welcome back. We're diving into some pretty amazing stories today.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, stories of self-discovery and reinvention.
Cool.
We're talking about folks who decided to just completely change their lives. Leaving stable jobs, moving across the world,
Wow.
pursuing passions they maybe put on hold for years and years.
I love that. I'm always so curious about what drives people to make those kind of big changes.
Me too.
Yeah.
And what's so interesting is there's this underlying theme
Yeah.
that kind of connects all of these stories together, but
Okay.
we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
But first, let's talk about Amara.
Okay.
She left her corporate job to become a yoga instructor in Bali.
Wow. Talk about a leap of faith.
Right?
What?
So from a psychological standpoint, what do you think is happening there?
Well, Amara's story and a lot of the other stories we're looking at really highlight this tension between our need for security and our desire for growth. You know, we crave both.
Yeah.
But sometimes one voice is just louder than the other. That makes total sense.
Yeah.
Have you ever felt that pull yourself? That feeling of
Oh, absolutely.
being stuck, but also terrified to make a change?
Yeah, and I think a lot of times that fear comes from, real concerns like what other people will think or the possibility of failing or just the uncertainty of the unknown.
Right.
But one thing that's really interesting is that Dr. Laura Chen,
Okay.
whose work we've been digging into, she actually argues that leaning into discomfort, even in small ways, helps build resilience.
So it's kind of like building up those mental muscles so you can handle the bigger challenges later on.
Exactly. It's not just about bouncing back from setbacks.
Right.
It's also about adapting and learning from them.
I like that.
And one story that really embodies this idea is David's experience moving to Japan in his mid-30s.
Japan. Wow.
Yeah.
No language skills, no connections, just a fascination with the culture.
Yeah,
That's a whole other level of out of your comfort zone.
it is.
What stood out to you about his experience? It's fascinating because by facing those communication barriers head on, he actually developed a heightened awareness of nonverbal cues.
Interesting.
He even said, I learned to listen with my eyes as much as my ears.
Wow.
It totally changed the way he understood communication and connection.
That's incredible. It makes me think about that feeling you get when you travel someplace completely new.
Yeah.
It's like your senses are on high alert.
Right.
You're forced to pay attention differently.
Exactly. And that heightened awareness often leads to a lot of personal growth.
For sure. And speaking of personal growth,
Yeah.
Sarah's story of leaving a secure finance career to pursue art is another great example of that.
Oh, absolutely.
That classic follow your passion story. But I bet it wasn't all smooth sailing.
You're right about that.
What were some of the hurdles she faced?
Well, she talks about the fear of financial instability, which is a big one for a lot of people considering a career change.
Yeah, definitely.
But she also mentions the pressure of societal expectations, especially in a field like finance, where success is measured in such specific ways.
That makes you wonder, what would you pursue if you could just silence those inner voices of fear and doubt?
It's a powerful question, and it's one that Sarah struggled with for years.
I bet.
But ultimately, her story, like David's and Amara's, really points toward this universal desire for fulfillment,
Yeah.
It's about aligning what you do with what you believe in, even when it feels scary.
And that's where Dr. Chen's advice about trusting the journey comes in, right? It's not always about having this perfect plan, but taking that first step and believing that the path will unfold as you go.
Exactly. And sometimes those paths lead us to unexpected places,
Oh, for sure.
Like Nina's story of reinvention after going through a divorce.
Okay, this is where things get really interesting.
Right.
Because it wasn't just a career change or a move to a new city. It was like a complete life overhaul.
Yeah.
So what prompted that kind of transformation?
Yeah.
Well, what's fascinating about Nina's story is that it shows how even challenging life events can become catalysts for growth. She decided to embark on a year of solo travel and really push herself outside her comfort zone.
I can only imagine the courage that took to go through that kind of upheaval and turn it into an opportunity for self-discovery.
Absolutely.
What did she learn about herself during that time?
Well, she talks about finding a new level of confidence and independence. She discovered a passion for photography that she never knew she had, and she connected with people from all walks of life.
Wow.
It was truly a journey of self-discovery.
That's so inspiring. It makes you think about those turning points in your own life,
Yeah,
both the good and the bad.
definitely.
Like, what experiences have shaped you into who you are today?
It really is remarkable how often those tough or even painful experiences can lead us to a more fulfilling path. It's like we're forced to face our fears, reassess what's important, and ultimately we come out stronger and more self-aware.
I love that.
Me too.
So we've got Amara finding herself through yoga in Bali, David embracing a whole new culture in Japan,
Yep.
and Sarah and Nina taking leaps of faith to pursue their passions and redefine their lives.
That's right. And as different as their stories are, there's this common thread,
Yeah,
this incredible resilience that shines through.
I see it too. It's like they all tapped into this inner strength that allowed them to adapt and overcome challenges and ultimately create these incredibly fulfilling lives for themselves.
It's really inspiring, right? It shows that change is possible at any age and under any circumstance.
It does. And you know what else is amazing?
What's that?
It doesn't have to be these huge dramatic changes to make a difference. Sometimes the smallest shifts in perspective or behavior can have a ripple effect on our entire lives.
That's so true. Sometimes we overthink things and make them way bigger in our heads than they need to be.
Right. Like we get caught up in the what ifs and the fear of the unknown.
Yeah.
But when we break it down into smaller steps, it becomes a lot less daunting.
It does, and it gives us the chance to experiment and try new things without feeling like we're risking everything.
Exactly. So if you're feeling stuck or unfulfilled,
Yeah.
I encourage you to think about one small change you can make today.
Oh, I like that.
Could be anything.
Yeah.
Like finally starting that project you've been putting off, or reaching out to someone you've been meaning to connect with, or even just taking a different route on your walk. The point is to break out of your routine and see where it leads you.
It's about embracing the unknown and trusting that the journey will unfold in its own way.
I love that. And you know what?
Yeah.
Sometimes those small detours end up being the most amazing adventures.
Absolutely. So get out there and explore. Embrace those little moments of self-discovery and see where they take you.
Beautifully said. We'll be back next week with more inspiring stories and insights on the power of change and reinvention.
Until then, keep diving deep.
See ya.
Bye.
It's really amazing how, like, even though these stories are all so different, they all tap into this, like, deep well of human resilience.
Yeah,
correct?
it's like there's this thread of adaptability that kind of runs through each one.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's like navigating a new culture or going after a whole new career or just reinventing yourself after like a huge life change. It's that ability to adjust and learn and grow that really sticks out.
Totally. And it goes right back to what Dr. Chen was saying about how stepping outside your comfort zone actually strengthens that resilience muscle.
Exactly. And it's like these stories are like living proof of that.
They really are.
Yeah.
What's even more fascinating to me, though, is how pushing those boundaries like that actually leads to people understanding themselves better.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like each challenge you face or each risk you take kind of reveals a new layer of who you are and what you're capable of.
Totally. It makes you wonder, like, what's one area in your own life where you've been playing it safe?
That's a good question.
You know, where could you maybe push yourself a bit further?
Experiment a little more.
Yeah.
And potentially uncover something new about yourself.
It's so easy to get stuck in those routines.
Oh, yeah.
And just like play it safe.
Absolutely.
But that's not really where the growth happens, right?
That's true. It doesn't have to be these huge dramatic changes, though.
Okay, good.
Sometimes the most profound growth comes from those quiet moments of self-reflection and taking small steps.
Right. It's not about like comparing yourself to other people or trying to reach some like picture perfect outcome.
Yeah.
It's about embracing the whole process.
Exactly.
Like the ups and downs, the detours, the discoveries that make your path unique.
And that brings us to like a really important question.
Okay.
Like, if these stories have like gotten you thinking, but you're maybe not ready to just like quit your job and travel the world, what are some like smaller, more manageable steps you can take towards personal growth?
That's a great question. Because not everyone is ready for those huge gestures, you know? Right.
But that doesn't mean we can't learn from these stories.
Yeah.
And find ways to apply them to our own lives.
Absolutely. It's about finding those opportunities for growth in your everyday life.
Exactly.
Maybe it's like finally signing up for that art class you've been wanting to take or having a tough conversation you've been putting off.
Right.
It's about like pinpointing those areas where you feel a little bit stuck.
Yeah.
And then asking, what's like one tiny step I can take today to move in a different direction?
It's like those little upgrades in a video game.
Oh, yeah. I like that.
You don't get to the final level overnight.
Right.
It takes time and effort and a willingness to face those smaller challenges along the way.
And as you like overcome those challenges, you gain experience.
Yes.
Level up your skills. And eventually you unlock new possibilities.
Exactly.
It's that continuous process of growth and evolution that makes the whole journey worthwhile.
It's not about like reaching this perfect endpoint.
No.
It's about becoming more comfortable with uncertainty and more adaptable to change and like more in tune with your own inner compass.
Absolutely. And who knows? Maybe one day your story will be the one inspiring others to embrace change.
Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah. To be the catalyst for somebody else's big aha moment. But even if that never happens, the rewards of personal growth are more than enough.
They really are.
Yeah.
It's about becoming a better, more resilient, more fulfilled version of yourself. And that's a journey worth taking.
For sure.
No matter where it leads you. You know, it's like we were given this amazing roadmap.
Yeah.
Not to like a specific place.
Right.
But to like the inner workings of ourselves.
It is. And what's so cool is that the map isn't one size fits all. You know,
Right.
It's more like a choose your own adventure where every decision, every challenge you face opens up a new path.
I love that. And remember, those paths don't have to lead to like some massive Instagram-worthy transformation.
Oh, for sure.
Sometimes the most like powerful changes happen internally.
Absolutely.
You know, quietly reshaping how we see ourselves and the world around us.
It's that feeling of like coming home to yourself.
Yeah.
Even if nothing on the outside has really changed all that much.
So if you're listening to this and thinking, okay, these stories are really inspiring, but I'm not about to quit my job and travel the world, that's totally fine.
It's okay. What really matters is cultivating that mindset of exploration and curiosity in your everyday life.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Think of it like conducting little experiments.
Okay.
What's a belief you have that you could challenge? What's one little step you could take that would push you just a bit outside your comfort zone?
I like that. So maybe it's like finally starting that creative project that you've been putting off.
Yeah.
Or having that honest conversation you've been avoiding. Or even just trying a new food.
Right. Any of those things could be a step towards a more authentic and fulfilling life.
And that's what these stories have really been all about, right?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we're not static.
We're not.
You know, we're always changing. We're always learning.
Yep.
Always becoming. And that process, even when it's messy or uncomfortable, that's what the real magic is.
It is. So as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with this.
Okay.
What's one tiny step you can take today to start moving towards a life that feels more aligned with your true self?
It's a great question to think about, and I really hope these stories have given you the courage and the inspiration to take that step, however big or small it may be.
Exactly.
So until next time, keep exploring, keep growing, and keep diving deep.
We'll see you then.